What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Cold Takes from the Land.
Cold Takes from the Land, where you get the coldest takes from the hottest Cleveland sports fans.
And, we did it. We did it, buddy. We fucking did it, buddy.
Yes, we did. Somehow, some way, buddy. It didn't look good. It felt like a loss most of this game, but we somehow pulled this one out.
Yeah, emotional roller coaster, a couple Twitter arguments, and a Joe Flacco fourth quarter later. We are 9-5, and Kevin Stefanski has now become the first coach in modern Cleveland Browns history, post-expansion, to have multiple winning seasons as a head coach, and he's the first one to do that in general since Marty Schottenheimer back in the late 80s. So, not too shabby,
buddy.
What a
wild stat. Wild stat. 88, I think they said, was the last time when Schottenheimer was around that this happened. So, I mean, Stefanski's been awesome, man. They were kind of touching on his relationship with Jim Schwartz, and they were talking about how the two of them really have just turned this franchise around together.
Yeah, literally. And real quick, before we get into it, I was seeing a handful of people complaining about Stefanski's play calling. Like, I saw a couple guys like, well, why is he throwing the ball on first down? Motherfucker, we had 18 carries for 29 yards. You want him to run the ball?
Yeah, I saw a few of those as well. I feel like those are unavoidable every week. There's going to be a couple guys that are just like, Stefanski, what are you doing? And I'm just like, man, shut the fuck up. Like, I didn't have any problems with any of his play calling today. Like you said, the rush game was non-existent. Our freaking starting tackles, Garon Christian, and don't even get me started on Hudson. I tweeted during the game, somebody shoot this man into the sun, because he's probably the worst damn player I've ever seen. But those two guys were getting absolutely blasted all game long, so what do you expect out of the guy?
Yeah, literally. But either way, we're trying to be jovial here. And the Browns done did it. They got the win 20-17 against the Bears at home. After a miraculous fourth quarter comeback, they were losing 17-7. Bears had the ball to start the fourth quarter. It wasn't looking too good. And then Big Dick Joe Flacco pulled it out, whipped it around a little bit.
Yes, sir. And then Big Dick Flacco happened.
Yeah, so it was that was a real something, buddy. I don't know how to describe it without getting into the positives and negatives, but I'm feeling feeling pretty good, because that game honestly kind of fucking sucked, and we still won, so I'll take it.
Yeah, we played about as poorly as we could have on off. I mean, our offensive line had, by bar none, I think the worst game of the season. Flacco was getting destroyed out there. Even on the plays, or a couple of them where we made big plays. The one pass to Njoku where he threw off his back foot for a big gain to get us into field goal range. Even that play, our line absolutely got obliterated as soon as we hiked the ball. So could have played a lot better, and somehow we still won. A crazy stat to me is the fact that Flacco threw for over 200 yards in the fourth quarter, which is, in one quarter, more than Justin Fields threw for the entire game.
Yeah, that is quite impressive. And if you don't mind, I hop into my first positive of our three positives, because you kind of segued into it. My first positive was fourth quarter Joe Flacco. It's no secret he was not very good for most of today. And then in the fourth quarter, I was just saying before we started recording, he decided to turn Madden on rookie mode and was out there slinging shit. And was making throws. That throw to Cooper on the touchdown was an absolute dime. Fucking threaded the needle between three defenders that if you threw it a second earlier or a second later was probably an interception, but he just fit it in there beautifully. And he had 374 yards. He is another fun stat. He's the first quarterback for the Cleveland Browns to throw 300-plus yards in back-to-back wins since Brian Sipe in 1980. So we're breaking all sorts of records.
That's
buddy.
Like an actual stat?
Yes.
1980. That is insane. Holy crap.
43 years ago, and that was the Cardiac Kids year where we...
Yeah, 43 years is an absolutely insane statistic for 300-yard passing. Like, I can't even believe that that's a thing that we haven't had in that long.
Yeah, it's kind of sad to think about, but
and back-to-back games, to be honest with you. So yeah, like you said.
Yeah, so it was a good experience in that fourth quarter. Obviously, as you said, Joe Flacco threw for more yards in that quarter than Justin Fields did the entire game. And he was having a rough go of it. Had 3 interceptions, and he just, was resilient and kept himself, upright and, put his head down and kept working for it. And, it really paid off in that fourth quarter. And he was on it for sure. So that was really nice to see out of him in that fourth quarter.
Yeah. And my first positive was actually the same exact thing. This is the first time I've done this to where I had penciled in the third quarter. I had Flacco as one of my negatives. And in the fourth quarter, he absolutely turned it on, and I ended up moving him to the positive category. So, like you said, 374 yards, the 2 big touchdowns. The weird thing to me was, like, the first 3 quarters, really, he was playing pretty badly. Like, he had 3 interceptions, like you touched on. I thought the first one was a broken play to where Tillman ran the wrong route, so didn't put that fully on his shoulders, but the third interception was pretty bad there. And what was the second one? Was the second one the one where Tillman got blasted and the dude just had the ball like right in his hands, basically?
Yeah, so I have a thing about Flacco's interception. Everyone is saying that it was a miscommunication between Tillman. I don't know what the fuck everyone was watching. He was trying to throw a seam, and Tillman ran the seam, but he got his legs taken out as he was following through with the throw, so it fell a little bit short. It was just because of the pressure. Like, I can almost guarantee you that. I don't think...
Okay. I didn't even see that. It looked to me like he was running a fade, and I'm like... I think Mark Sanchez said, yeah, he was supposed to break in and run a post, and Tillman just ran a fade straight up the field.
No, it looked like he was trying to run a seam. I mean, he could have ran it a bit wide, but it looked like Flacco was trying to just get it over top of the linebacker to hit him in stride. But he got his legs taken out as he let go of the ball and was following through, so he couldn't have his full follow through. So I think that's why it fell a little short. And then the second pick, was kind of half on Flacco, half not, just because he put...
The first 2 weren't really his fault. The third one was the only one that I was kind of like, what the hell? You know what I mean? The first 2, you can live with those because those are kind of freak plays.
The second one,
I
just
threw a couple more.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
You're fine. The second one, I still put half on him just because it was a risky throw, throwing it in the middle of the field where obviously Tillman was in a lot of traffic and could have got blasted, which he did, and it got popped in the air and picked off. And then, that last one was real bad, just way underthrew, and Njoku was wide open in the end zone.
Yeah, the second one, the only thing I can think of that was going through his mind is, hey, I got a bigger receiver here who's got great hands. Maybe I'm going to try to get it in there, because he had one of those in the second quarter where almost threw another pick, but freaking Tillman just snatched it out of the air.
Yeah. He wasn't great in those first 3 quarters, but I mean, if there's a quarter I want my quarterback to be great in, I guess it would be the fourth, wouldn't it?
Yeah, man. I mean, to talk about our old buddy Colin Cowherd, he uses this movie analogy. He says, if most of the movie is crap, but the ending is good, most people remember it as a good movie. So, Flacco, this wasn't his best film by any means, but damn it, the last 6 minutes of the game, he came through.
He sure did, buddy. It was really nice to see that after a rough game, and I think that's the difference between a guy like him and a guy like DTR. If DTR's out there having a rough game, I think it just continues to snowball and crumble like it did against Baltimore. But you have Joe Flacco, who's a vet. He's been there. He's won a Super Bowl. He's got all kinds of experience. He knows that, hey, it's still anybody's game, and he was able to lead the way back in there. And with that, I'll get into my second positive, which was David goddamn Njoku. 10 catches, 104 yards, and a touchdown. A fucking moss of a touchdown, too, in the back of the end zone. David Njoku's
beautiful.
He's really putting himself in that upper echelon of tight ends. Like, I don't think it's crazy to put him, like, in that tier with some guys like Darren Waller and Mark Andrews and even Kittle. I don't think he's on like Travis Kelce's level, because I think Kelce's kind of in a league of his own. But he's right up there, man. He's putting up, especially in the last 4 or 5 weeks, he's been really turning it on. His whole angry runs thing, where whenever he gets the ball, he's just trying to fucking murder who's ever in front of him. And he's making great plays, making great catches. He had multiple real tough catches that are just wow. I don't know how he hung on to that. David Njoku in 2018 would have fucking dropped that shit, but he's really developed, and he's turned himself into a really damn solid tight end, and he's kind of became the number 2 option, even the number 1 option in some of these games. So he fucking killed it.
Yeah, he was great, man. You kind of stole my second point there as well. I originally had just Njoku, but I just changed it to wide receivers in general because I was looking at the stat sheet and I forgot that Cooper also had a 100-yard game. So I think this is the very first time this season, at least, where we have 2 100-yard receivers, if I'm not mistaken.
I'm pretty sure. I think this might be the first time in a while that's happened.
Yeah, I want to say the last time was Baker, I think, with Jarvis and Odell, if I remember right. But
Yeah.
yeah, Njoku, 10 catches like you touched on for 104 yards. He had the absolutely insane touchdown catch. And besides Flacco, I mean, he was pretty much the go-to weapon there down the stretch where he had the big catch, did the spin move on the guy, and then ran up the sideline for another 10 yards. He just runs angry. He runs with a purpose. And I think, like you said, I don't think it's crazy at this point to say that he's approaching. Like, he might be a top 5 tight end because this really is his breakout season, I think.
Yeah, he's definitely getting there. I think he's close, and I do agree with you that the rest of the receiving core is pretty good. Cedric Tillman had a nice little game, 4 catches, 52 yards. Obviously, people were giving him shit.
I really like his hands, man. He catches everything.
I think he's going to be really good once he develops. People were giving him some shit because like the weird route that on that interception, and then obviously he had the one pick that went through his hands because he got hit real hard. And like I think people got to remember he's a rookie, and like, you know, shit's going to happen.
Yeah, and he got blasted. I mean, that's a play in the middle of the field where you get hit that hard. I mean, you're either going to drop the ball or you're going to throw it up in the air and it's going to get picked off like it did. So
yeah, so I think he was pretty good. Elijah Moore had a couple more catches. You know, nothing crazy in the stats, but, you know, got open a couple times. One of his catches was kind of a big play that led to a first down. It was like 11 or 12-yard gain where he got open in the middle of the field. And then Marquise Goodwin made an appearance, had a big old 57-yard gain, was third in the team in receiving yards on one catch.
Yeah, that was wild. I tweeted as it happened because I was tweeting during that quarter. I'm like, man, I forgot he was on the team, but that's why he's out there to stretch the field. So I'd like to see them get him out there on a couple more plays next week.
Yeah, for sure. That's what he's there for. You know, play 10, 15 snaps a game. Tell him go, run a post, run downfield, and be fast, and that's what he is. He's faster than everybody on the field, and, you know, it's nice to see him make a play. So, yeah, I definitely agree with you. The receiving core in general, led by Njoku and Cooper, were very good today.
Yeah, Cooper was outstanding, too. I know we didn't touch on him as much, but 4 catches for the touchdown and 109 yards. He had the insane dot that you were talking about that he caught from Flacco where dude dropped it between a linebacker, a cornerback, and the safety, and Cooper just took off and stayed in bounds for the TD. So
yeah, he was
great as always. So tiptoeing through the tulips, buddy. It's good to see him getting back healthy because the last couple weeks he's been really banged up.
Yeah, and he's even like he's only 4 catches, but 109 yards and another touchdown. He's gearing up for a career year in terms of yardage and maybe even receptions if he can keep a certain pace. But he's just playing really well. It's nice to have a true number 1 receiver. Really quick, I think it was Tony Grossi's bitch ass on Twitter. He'll do like little Q&As. With the fans, and a guy was like, your top priority in the offseason, and he was like an undisputed number 1 receiver, and I'm like, what the fuck? I'm like, do you not know who Amari Cooper is? Like, just because he's not flashy or is a big personality,
I hope he doesn't know something we don't. I hope they're not looking to get rid of him.
I don't fucking know. I hope not, but I think it's very clear Amari Cooper is a true number 1 wide receiver, and David Njoku is a true top flight tight end, and if Tillman can keep coming along and Elijah Moore can make plays where he needs to, I'm pretty happy with this receiving core, like you said. So
yeah, it's like been the one bright spot on offense this season outside of Flacco for these last couple games, in my opinion. I mean, the offensive line's been banged up and not very great all year. Run game has been non-existent. So the receivers, I'm even happier than I thought I would be, to be honest with you. And after we got rid of DPJ, seeing Tillman, I like his hands a lot. I think he's going to be more involved next year. I don't think he's going to get a ton of opportunities in these next couple of games, and we'll see in the playoffs. But with Njoku, I couldn't be happier. We were stressing the first 7 weeks of the year, we need a number 2 option, and he has clearly taken that role on. So
yeah, I'm very happy with him in the receiving core, but I will move into my last positive here, and I feel like we are also going to have the same last positive because mine is the goddamn defense. Yeah, the defense fucking meant business today. They came out here with a vengeance, coming after Justin Fields.
What a beast.
Yeah, that dude, another guy who I think is developing into one of the better linebackers in the league. You know, 6 more tackles today, 2 more tackles for loss, 1 sack. This may
one
be
interception.
Yeah, this may be crazy to say. I think he was our best player on the field today on defense.
I don't think it's a question.
Like he fucking killed it. And Myles Garrett was awesome too. Like he didn't have a sack, but he made the plays where he needed to and had a tackle for loss. He was getting
at a crucial time too.
Yeah, he was getting held out his fucking ass too. There's a play.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can see it. I don't know if you saw it on Twitter, but there's a clip where he comes around the edge and beats his guy clean, and the tackle
guy rips him down by the shoulder.
He rips his face mask. He hit his face mask.
That too.
And
there was another play where a
backwards.
dude like grabbed his jersey and ripped him straight into the ground too.
Yeah, he ripped him by his face mask, and Garrett like popped up, and it looked like he wanted to like fucking eviscerate the referee, which obviously he's already gotten fined for complaining about them. So I'm glad he didn't boil over.
This was
there.
their payback to him. I think they didn't want to give him any kind of calls because you could tell the refs were kind of salty that he was outspoken last week.
Yeah. Well, either way, he was damn good. JOK was fucking amazing. I forgot about that interception. I'll be honest. I don't want to be the bearer of bad news, but I think whatever their names are, I think they're going to overturn that interception because that was pretty clearly not an interception when you look at the slow-mo cam. Hopefully they just gloss over it and let them have it. But if you watch it, ball definitely hit the ground.
I think as of now they did because it says Fields threw 2, and they were both on the Hail Mary. Actually, both Hail Marys, the one at the end of the half and then the one at the end of the game.
Yeah, they will usually look at that like in the middle of the week because the whatever their goddamn name, stat keepers. I can't say the name.
Spit it out, Junior.
Yeah, but they just because they keep track of the statistics and they'll look over the games they could overturn. But either way, he was still awesome.
Yeah.
Cameron Mitchell, I wanted to shout out.
How about those rookie safeties, buddy?
Yeah, they were
pretty
fucking
damn
good.
Didn't give up anything over the top. I was impressed.
Hey, don't disrespect Anthony Bell. This is his second year. He ain't no rookie.
Yeah, well, no, I mean, yeah, that's true. But he never fucking plays, so this is basically his rookie
I
year.
know, I'm just kidding. But Ronnie Hickman was good as well. Deron Harmon, we just signed him a few days ago, and he even like made a couple decent plays out there. Obviously, all the corners were awesome. Yeah. Shout out Cameron Mitchell, who made that big play on Justin Fields, where he took off running and would have had the first down and probably a lot more if Mitchell didn't trip him up, where he fell short of it on that 4th down. And then
that was a big play.
Fucking who was it on that reverse? That blew it up completely.
Alex Wright.
Yeah, Alex Wright. Yeah, he made.
No. It was Alex
Yeah,
Wright.
91. Alex Wright. Yeah, he made that huge play. He also had a sack. The whole defense just really showed up to play and didn't give up a whole lot. I mean, Justin Fields had 40 pass attempts, completing 19 of them for only 166 yards and a touchdown and 2 picks. And they only gave
I'm gonna give the big boy some love too, man. Number 94, Dalvin Tomlinson. He had that freaking huge. He had a sack as well. I think. I don't know if they actually counted it, but he had the one big sack, and he was just a menace all day. He was bowling through the line. He was getting double teamed, and he was still getting pressure.
Yeah, he's real good. He had 2 tackles for loss. I don't see a sack on his stats, but the whole defense in general was just really, really fucking good, man. It was really nice to see.
Yeah, they keep playing well. I mean, I just hope we can take this on the road for the next 2 out of the 3 road games that we have and kind of do the same thing there because 7-1 at home is what our record is right now, and freaking if we could play half as good defense as we do at home on the road, I think that's going to be a key to the playoffs because at this rate we're not going to be getting a home playoff game.
Yeah, and before we hop into the negatives, I will conclude that with saying I do think that is the last question of this defense is, can we go on this final stretch of the season, playing these road games and, go and, finish out the season and play good defense on the road because all of our poor performances defensively have been on the road. So it would be real nice to see it step up in the, when they're not in their home place. So I'm
calling it now. I'm laying it out there. Going to have a home playoff game against Buffalo.
That'd
AFC Championship game.
AFC Championship? That would be nuts. Well, hey, the Jacksonville's they're 7-10. Baltimore's leading right now. If Baltimore loses to Jacksonville, it gets real interesting in terms of number 1 seed race because that'll leave us only 1 game behind Baltimore. But
I hope they can, man. I don't know if you caught any of the first half of that game, but Doug Peterson was on his BS again. They had a chance to get a quick 3 points, if not 7, and they didn't spike the ball. They had no timeouts, and they came away with no points before the half.
Sounds like old Doug Peterson. But
yeah, everybody was like, what the hell? I was live. I'm like, what are they doing? Because they had 19 seconds. They're running to the line. Trevor Lawrence is calling a play, and he runs a play out of the shotgun, throws a quick little slant route, and he gets tackled on the 1-yard line. I'm like, what are we doing?
Yeah, time management
It's
skills.
only divisional teams this happens. Like I tweeted, I'm like, only like when teams are playing Baltimore or Pittsburgh does stuff like this happen, where I'm like, really? Like the luckiest plays and the dumbest boneheaded plays of all time come against the teams in our division?
Literally. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Insane. We'll see. We'll see how that game goes. And with that, we're happy and we had some positives, but we do got to talk about the negatives because this was an ugly game. And my first negative is another one that I know we're going to share is the fucking offensive line was horrid today.
Yep, that was my number one.
Now, obviously, I will preface this by saying when you're down to your third right tackle, a left tackle who you signed in the middle of the season, backup left guard, your backup center, obviously it's not going to go well. But you still got to point it out.
Wyatt Teller was out there with a bag of chips, a freaking can of soda, and a couple scrubs.
Yeah, he was in his lonesome today. He was like a Ferrari parked in a trailer park.
He was out there screaming Ayuda May. Literally.
But yeah, it wasn't very good. James Hudson, I think, clearly was the worst of them. But everyone else wasn't very good either.
He is so bad, man.
Yeah,
so bad. And I hate to rag on our own players, but my God, like I understand you're a professional. I tweeted this also. I'm like, how can these two guys, Hudson in particular, be this bad to where I'm like, he was getting beat on every single play. And I'm like, at some point, it's not how bad you are. And like you would think, I've seen even crap players at least have a couple decent plays because they put in good effort. I don't know if it's just an effort thing with him, because there's no way you get beat on every single play. Even the plays where we made, like I said, the Njoku pass from Flacco off foot for the first down to get us into field goal range. Some of our big plays he got destroyed too. Like he was getting killed all day.
Yeah, he was the worst of it for sure, but everyone else wasn't very good either. Obviously, I mean, Teller was fine, but Nick Harris kind of struggled when he was in there. He had the one play where he got absolutely murdered on a run play, and then Michael Dunn, I think, was the guy who replaced Bitonio. He wasn't great, running up the middle just wasn't an option. I mean, running on the outside wasn't an option either, but in general.
Running period wasn't an option.
Yeah, and then Christian, he's been pretty decent, but today he was not very good. That defensive line from the Bears was terrorizing us, especially Montez Sweat with 2.5 sacks. But I don't really.
He was licking his chops all day.
Yeah, I don't really have a whole lot else to say outside of the fact that the offensive line was fucking horrible, and let's please get Bitonio and Pocic healthy. Because if both of them are missing time, it's going to be scary for Joe Flacco.
Yeah, I really hope Bitonio's okay. I know he spoke with Mary Kay briefly after the game ended, and she's like, how you feeling? And he's like, well, I cannot move. I guess it was his back just like tensed up and locked up on him.
Yeah, locked up on him.
I mean, the good thing is it's not like it doesn't sound like a tear or anything crazy, but I'm hoping this can be a thing that gets remedied by next Sunday.
Yeah, hoping just rehabbing it a bit during the week and, being probably just limit him in practice all week and, focus on getting Pocic ready. And then obviously I'd still probably stick with Christian, but I'd consider maybe just bringing someone in off the streets to play right tackle. Just because
I said
Hudson's
the same thing. I mean,
good.
I don't think it can be much worse. Like at this point, what are you afraid of? Like, I don't think he can be any worse than it already is,
I mean, maybe he takes his game and kicks his shit into gear and is just serviceable the rest of the way, but we'll have to see. Yeah. But yeah, the offensive line was not very good. I know you shared that as your first point, so do you want to move into the second point for our negatives?
Yeah. Do you want me to go since you've been stealing all my shit?
Yeah, you can steal my shit. Here you go.
Okay. And we probably both have the same thing as well, but I put the run game was absolutely abysmal. I mean, Jerome Ford couldn't get anything going again, but even worse than him, our boy Kareem Hunt had 7 carries for 8 total yards, which averaged out to 1.1 a carry. So, absolutely terrible there. Pierre Strong only got 2 touches for 2 yards. Jerome Ford finished with 8 carries for 20 yards. So, on the ground, we had a total of 29 yards, which is pretty awful, buddy.
Yeah, this is like reminiscent of I don't know if you remember and if any of you fans out there remember, but you remember in 2013 when the Browns traded away Trent Richardson and they signed Willis McGahee, who was like fucking a
you
good
hate this guy.
Was a fucking hard hit away from retirement, and they brought him in and averaged like 2.6 yards a carry. It was kind of like watching that. Except it was more so the line that was just butt than it was necessarily the running backs. But running backs weren't anything special either. Kareem Hunt wasn't great. Even Pierre Strong's couple carries, he didn't really make anything happen. Jerome Ford had a couple decent runs, but wasn't great either. I think this is kind of an extension of the offensive line, but yeah, the run game wasn't very good. I definitely agree with you on that one.
Yeah. How much do you think any of this has to do with Deshaun being gone too? Because a lot of our runs were designed with him. So do you think having an absolute statue back there is making it easier for them to just predict what we're doing?
I do think so out of shotgun, because there's no threat for a read option or for Flacco to just take off, obviously. Even if it was DTR, there'd be more of a threat. In terms of under center, I don't think so as much, just because they can't stack the box, because even though Flacco can't really run, he can still beat you off a play action and, run a little boot and, getting, finding guys in the middle of the field. And, he showed a few times that even under duress, because, that experience, when they overcommit, to a blitz or to the run or whatever, he can find guys. But I definitely think when they're in shotgun, yeah, when you see the handoff going, you're not going to really fall for a potential read option or something. You're going to kind of gun to the running back, and so it definitely eliminates that a little bit. But you got to deal with it, and just be better next week.
It also doesn't help that your two best 3 available linemen are out in Pocic and Bitonio.
Yeah. So it ain't good, buddy. But like I said, I do think it was a little bit of an extension of the line. Obviously, I think the run game could definitely be better than it was today. But, it just got to see how that goes. Got to see how healthy you can get the guys on the offensive line. I'm hoping we can just get some breaks in terms of injuries, because we haven't had them at all. So I'm hoping late in the season with this offensive line, we can just...
We even had a couple more today. Zadarius Smith ran into Myles Garrett at the end there, and he might have a concussion, so we'll see how that is.
Yeah, I think Myles Garrett's made out of, steel or something, because Grant Delpit is out for the year because he ran into him. And then fucking Zadarius Smith ran into him.
Colossus from the X-Men.
Yeah, literally. He's just, if you hit Myles Garrett, you just die. So, yeah.
Pretty much. And Myles, on that same play when he went down, you could see Myles jogging off because the guy ran up the side and he was running after the play, and I'm like, it didn't even faze him. He didn't even look like he was winded or anything.
Yeah, I definitely need to study. I think they need to run some studies on that man and see what he's made of. But yeah, I do agree with you on the run game. That actually wasn't my second negative. The run game wasn't in my negatives, just because I just felt that was an extension of the offensive line.
O-line, right.
My second negative was actually just the I didn't really have a word for it, but just the silly mistakes offensively for the most part. Some defensively as well. Miscommunications, the amount of fucking penalties were annoying, even though some, the refs were pretty bad, but, shit still happens. So I had some holding calls, a couple false starts. I'm pretty sure, I could be wrong, but I swear I heard someone say we lead the league in false starts or pre-snap penalties, which is insane. And it always seems to stem with the offensive line with these stupid-ass false starts and holding calls. It negates good drives and good plays. David Njoku might have had even more yards than he had today, because one of the holding calls was on a 25-yard gain off of a screen that got completely killed because of a holding call.
The Pierre Strong one. They called one on... Was that the one they called on Teller where he didn't move at all and Pierre Strong got 22 yards?
Yeah, that was one where I think they just got the number wrong, because Teller wasn't even involved in the play really.
Right.
But either way, just stupid ass mistakes. Turning the ball over. Obviously, I know there were some freakish things. Turning the ball over, penalties, miscommunications. That's just stuff that can't happen in a game like this. And it contributed to us being down 17-7 at the start of the fourth quarter. But obviously, we were able to climb out of it and get the win. And that's all I really had for that one, was just the stupid ass mistakes and penalties that need to be cleaned up by the time playoff time comes around.
Yeah, my third and final. I was going to put injuries, but we've used that a lot, so I pretty much just put communication. There are a couple throws. Whether the one with Tillman was or was not a communication issue, there was a couple with Cooper where Cooper played defense on the one play because he clearly was running a route that Flacco thought he wasn't running. Just stuff that when he plays more and gets more used to the system, I think will kind of be ironed out. But just small stuff like that, because you could tell being only his, his third game now, right? Yeah. Being his third game, they need to get this ironed out on offense. And the fact that we're 9-5 right now, and the stat you just said with us leading in penalties there, and also with us still, I believe, leading the league in turnovers against, Like, the fact that we're 9-5 it boggles my mind.
Yeah, I mean that just shows how great the coaching is,
some of the
and
worst
culture
stats
is,
to
and
have.
the fight is in this team. But yeah, it's been real sloppy at times.
Yeah, I mean that goes to show that you have great coaches on the staff, and unlike years past, I think we have honestly everybody in place. Whether it's the O-line coach, obviously Stefanski, Big Dick Jimbo Schwartz out there. I think we got to lock all these guys up and keep them all in place, because the coaching staff we have now, these guys want to play for each other, and they come out there and do the best they can, even when we got 4th and 5th string tackles out here.
Yeah, definitely some stuff to clean up. But I definitely agree with you that was kind of an extension to my last point. And my last negative was it was actually Joe Flacco again, just for the first 3 quarters. Because in the first part of this game, obviously I don't really have a whole lot more to add, because we kind of put it all in there at the very beginning. But yeah, the first 3 quarters he was not very good. He missed some throws, had a couple deep passes that just were completely sailed. Obviously had the one real bad interception in the red zone right after a muffed punt. That would have been a great opportunity to get back in the game earlier than we ended up doing. And then he underthrows and just way fucking misses Njoku in the end zone and throws a pretty bad interception. And then obviously he had 2 other interceptions that, weren't all fucking really his fault necessarily, but still you got to put some blame on him, and just had some balls going to the dirt and whatnot. But his stats today, if it wasn't for that 4th quarter, would have looked pretty grim. But he turned it on in the 4th quarter, so you can't fault him too much, because he was great where you needed him to be. So yeah, that's all I really have for that last one there.
Yeah, we never have a veteran quarterback that, I mean, when's the last time we had a guy at this age that's played this well? It would have to be like the freaking tail end of Bernie, right?
Yeah, consistently, yeah, probably. I mean, I remember Josh McCown threw for 450 yards one time. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah, I mean, not just a one-off, but like a couple of games in a row kind of thing. But yeah, he did go the hell off. I do remember that.
Yeah, that was a long time ago. But yeah, I think that's about it. Is probably just like Bernie, or like, I mean, yeah, I don't really. I mean, if you want to say percents of that,
it's nice having a guy with that age that has that poise out there. Because even in the 4th, when we were down, still trying to climb back into the game, the camera panned to him on the sideline, and he looks the same as ever. It doesn't look like he's rattled. It doesn't look like he's shaken up. I mean, hell, he did this to us last year when he was with the Jets. He did the same thing in less amount of time. So I feel very good with him as our quarterback for the rest of the year. And I was talking to our other buddy, Steve, who we've mentioned on this podcast before, but I was talking with him earlier in the day. Yeah, I mean, hell, man. I wouldn't be opposed. I know Flacco said he wants to keep playing. I wouldn't be opposed to bringing this MFer back on a 2-year deal for, we got, $33 million in rollover cap this year. Give him $5-6 million for a couple years to stay as our backup. Because if Watson slips, I'd be very comfortable with him playing for another season or 2.
Yeah, he's looked good, so I hope he can keep it up. And overall, to recap, it was a tough battle, but Joe Flacco turned it on in the 4th quarter. The offense turned it on where they needed to. Stefanski was great as usual. Jim Schwartz having his redemption arc after a couple rough defensive performances. He's really been a lot better, and the defense has been a lot better after a little bit of a rough stretch. And we're doing
this with no running game.
Yes, and we're going into Houston next week, who is looking a bit more beatable now as they've had a couple rough weeks. And then you got the Jets on Thursday Night Football. That's a very winnable game. And then you're in Cincinnati for the very last game of the season. That now is looking like a game that could mean a lot more than initially thought after Burrow got hurt, because they find a way to keep winning. So it's going to be.
Yeah. I can't believe they won. I was looking at my phone and they were down 10, and then I wake up the next morning and I saw a tweet, I believe it was, that said, man, Bengals came back, won this game. Browning had another good 4th quarter, and I was like, there's no way. And I looked and I'm like, of course they came back and won, because now they're 8-6 out of nowhere. It felt like they were just freaking I felt like they were like 5-7 last week.
Yeah, and well, they kind of were. But yeah, Jake Browning, he's kind of settling in. He's playing well. He's just being a good game manager, and obviously they still have all those weapons on offense, so they're making use of it. The defense is still pretty decent. and they're making some things happen. Do I think they can make some crazy run? No, just because without Joe Burrow, it's really hard to think something like that. But I mean, hey, we thought the same thing without Deshaun Watson, and we're over here making shit happen. But that.
Hey, maybe if they had Jesse Bates and some of these guys, but I don't think the defense has enough playmakers like us or like a Baltimore does to kind of make up the difference there.
Yeah, it's not game breaking, but hey, I mean, either way. Two of these next 3 games, obviously, I hope we could easily beat the Jets on Thursday Night Football here in a couple weeks. But this Texans game in Houston and this Bengals game in Cincinnati,
we might have to vlog that one, buddy. That's our only other chance to go to a game this season.
Yeah, that might have to be the one. That might have to be right after Christmas too. We'll figure that out.
Coming up quick.
Yeah, we might have to do that. But yeah, man, two of these last 3 games are going to be real interesting and are going to mean a lot in terms of the playoff picture. We're 9-5, so we're sitting real comfortable in that 5th seed in the playoffs. We still have the full game lead, so I think if we can win one more and get to 10 wins, I think that'll guarantee our playoff spot at the very least. Obviously, we got to see how the rest of the league goes. But hey, if some things can go our way in terms of other games, maybe we could play a home playoff game. You never know. We'll have to see. Obviously, it's not looking too good right now as Baltimore's up 20-7 over Jacksonville with 8 minutes to go. But, it's still got a few games left, and it'll be rather interesting. Did you have anything else you wanted to throw in before I get us out of here, buddy?
Yeah, I'm just hoping the Baltimore drops 2 out of the next 3 because, like you said, this game right now, I don't think there's much of a chance that Jacksonville comes back in. But they play, I believe, the Dolphins here coming up soon, and they play the Steelers once more. Don't they?
Yeah, and I think they have San Fran.
Team. Yeah, so maybe San Fran and maybe that the Dolphins game. Maybe they can drop those because if they drop those and we win out, do we get the tiebreaker?
It all depends on divisional and conference record, which I think if we beat the Bengals,
if we went out.
I think if we won out and beat the Bengals, we'd get it. If they lost to the Steelers, that'd be great. But yeah,
that would be very nice.
Yeah, but obviously, it looks like they're going to win this Jaguars game. But then they're in San Francisco on Monday Night Football on Christmas Day. Actually, that'll be a sweet thing to do after Christmas. And then on New Year's Eve, they play the Dolphins and then end against the Steelers in Baltimore. So it's going to be an interesting end of the season. I'm really excited to see where it goes. And
so you're saying there's a chance?
There is a chance, buddy. And with that, I was fun day, emotional roller coaster of a day, but it went our way, and I will appreciate that very much so compared to previous years. And it was another roller coaster game that turned into a win for us. And let's hope we
turned into a winning season for us. We didn't touch on that either. 9 wins guarantees a winning season for Cleveland. So
I said it in the beginning, but it's fine. Throw it back in there.
Oh, did you? Okay.
I did.
Well, hell. We're a winning team, buddy.
We are a winning team, even if we lose out. Let's not lose out, but either way, we are.
Let's not do that.
Yeah, good God, we're gonna be happy here. But yeah, excited to see how the rest of the season goes. We got 3 games left. It's looking like 2 of those 3 are gonna be real important. So let's gear up, get as healthy as we can, and make a run and see how it goes leading into the playoffs. Let's hope some things bounce our way in terms of other teams winning and losing. You never know. And we appreciate you guys for listening. We're getting right into the thick of it in terms of getting into the playoffs and whatnot. So we'll be very excited to cover that. And we will obviously have some content rolling out for you guys on stuff like that and whatnot. And once again, it's been another episode of Cold Takes from the Land, and we will see you in the next one.
Cold Takes from the Land.